Sodium-ion promises cheaper, safer batteries, but will your EV suddenly get heavier or lose range? Let's cut through the headlines with real numbers. Today we are digging into what sodium-ion batteries actually mean for electric cars. I'll show you the real energy density numbers, walk through simple pack weight and range math, compare sodium-ion to modern LFP at the cell level, and point to the trade-offs manufacturers will face when they try to use salt instead of lithium. If you want to know whether sodium ion will make EVs cheaper, lighter, or just more marketing, this video gives straight answers. Hello everyone, I'm Shayan, an engineer specialized in electric vehicle development. Sodium ion batteries swap sodium for lithium. Sodium is cheap and abundant, so the big promise is lower material costs and fewer supply chain headaches. Major battery makers are betting on it. CATL has announced passenger EV sodium ion cell that it says it reached about 175 watt-hour per kilogram at the cell level, which the company claims it's approaching LFP performance. That's a big headline because early sodium cells were far lower. But 175 watt-hour per kilogram sounds good only when you compare apple to apples. Typical published figures for sodium-ion cells in general have ranged around 160 watt-hour per kilogram for current commercial designs, with lab and next-generation cells aiming for higher. LFP cells themselves are commonly reported in the 170 to 190 watt-hour per kilogram range at cell level in recent vendor claims and technical reviews. So sodium sits in the same ballpark now, but it's not a clear win on energy density yet. It's competitive, improving, and still evolving. Why does that matter? Because energy density at cell level drives the weight of the battery pack. A lower watt-hour per kilogram means you need more mass to store the same kilowatt-hour, or you accept the smaller battery and less range. That's the core trade-off we will quantify next. The central question for automakers is simple and brutal. Can sodium ion match lithium ion in a way that doesn't penalize vehicle range or add costly mass? If sodium ion packs are heavy per kilowatt hour, cars either lose range, get heavier, or OEM must increase pack sizes. Each choice affects range, performance, cost, and handling. Manufacturers also care about other real-world factors: charge rate, cold performance, cycle life, safety, and how easy the chemistry is to mass manufacture. Sodium ion scores on raw material availability and safety claims, but the energy density gap, even if small, translates directly into the vehicle trade-offs drivers will notice. Let's do a practical math using clear numbers so you can see the impact. I'll use conservative public figures. CATL on recent products claim for next generation sodium ion of 175 watt-hour per kilogram cell energy density. Common commercial sodium ion used in many reports is 160 watt-hour per kilogram. Typical modern LFP cell level energy density is 185 watt-hour per kilogram. Average real-world consumption for a typical modern EV is around 190 watt-hour per kilogram. Use this to convert stored energy into kilowatts. Now concrete examples for common pack sizes. I'll show like 50 kilowatt hour, 60 kilowatt hour, something like this. Using those formulas, we can go through a 60 kilowatt hour pack example. At LFP 185 watt hour per kilogram, pack mass equals to 60,000 watt hour divided by 185 watt hour per kilogram, 324 kilogram. At sodium ion 160 watt-hour per kilogram, pack mass equals to 60,000 divided by 160, 375 kilogram, 15.6% heavier than the LFP pack. At sodium ion 175 watt-hour per kilogram, based on CATL claim, we're looking at 342.9 kilogram, which is 5.7 heavier than the LFP pack. Range at 190 watt-hour per kilogram for a 60 kilowatt-hour pack is going to be 60,000 divided by 190 is around 315.8 kilogram. The kilowatt-hour is the same, so the raw range in kilometer isn't affected unless the manufacturer reduces usable kilowatt-hour to save weight or increases the pack size to keep range, which then increases mass further. Example 2, 50 kilowatt-hour battery. For an LFP 185 watt-hour per kilogram, we're reaching 270 kilogram pack. For sodium 160 watt-hour per kilogram, we are reaching 312 kilogram. For a sodium ion with 175 watt-hour per kilogram, we are reaching 285 kilogram. And the range at 190 watt hour per kilometer is 263 kilometers. Bottom line from the math, if sodium ion stays closer to 160 watt per kilogram, a car using the same kilowatt hour pack will be 15 to 16% heavier in battery mass than an LFP pack at 185 watt hour per kilogram. If sodium ion reaches 175 watt hour per kilogram, as CATL claims for newer cells, that penalty shrinks to 5 to 6% and becomes more manageable. Those percentage changes in pack mass affects vehicle weight, efficiency, range, and handling in real ways. A 15% heavier battery pack doesn't only add mass, it changes the vehicle's energy economy. More mass means more energy required to accelerate and climb hills, and increased rolling resistance. The 190 watt hour per kilometer figure we used above assumes a given vehicle design. Adding mass pushes consumption upward, so range drops even more than the raw kilowatt hour math suggests, unless the OEM design compensation into the vehicle. In short, a heavier pack will typically reduce real-world range at a bit beyond the kilowatt hour divided by watt hour per kilogram math, unless the vehicle is re-engineered. Manufacturers have three basic responses: keep the same kilowatt hour, accept a heavier car, and small range or efficiency heat. Reduce usable kilowatt hour to keep weight constant, but it is having shorter range. Increase pack size to preserve range, which in return gives you more mass and cost. Each choice has trade-offs in cost, performance, and customer expectations. Safety, cycle life, and cold weather. Energy density is only one axis. Sodium ion has other properties that matter: safety and thermal behavior. Sodium ion chemistries are often touted as intrinsically safer and less prone to thermal runaway. CATL and others highlight improved safety as a commercial argument that can reduce pack level cooling, packaging cost, or insurance concerns. Cycle life and low temperature performance. Some sodium designs aim for very high cycle life, like thousands of cycles, and decent cold temperature operation, which could be attractive for commercial usage. Industry reports show sodium systems are being pitched for long life and wide temperature windows, but independent long-term field data is still limited. Cost. Sodium raw materials are cheaper and more evenly distributed globally than lithium and nickel, which could reduce raw material volatility and give OEMs a cost advantage, especially for low margin mass market cars. Those pros matter a lot. A lower cost, safer pack with slightly lower energy density could be exactly what some automakers want for entry models or for markets where cost and safety trump long highway range. Here's the decisive framing you can remember. Sodium ion is already viable for low-cost urban EVs, two-wheelers, scooters, and stationary storage, because the cost and safety benefits outweigh modest energy density limits. Projects and factories investments like Natron and others show real commercial momentum here. For mainstream passenger cars where range, weight, and packaging are critical, sodium ions is close but not yet across the board replacement. If manufacturers can deliver 175 watt-hour per kilogram reliably in mass production, sodium could be a practical alternative to LFP in many models, especially where price matters. But getting from pilot lines to billions of cells at consistent quality is beyond hard. The real competitive battleground is the cell-to-pack engineering, advanced pack design, high cell packing efficiency, and software optimization, which can reduce the practical disadvantage of lower cell watt-hour per kilogram. Some studies show that pack-level energy density gaps shrink compared to cell-level gaps, because packaging and cooling needs differ across the chemistries. This means sodium ion might punch above its raw cell energy density in real cars with smart engineering. Sodium ion is not a gimmick. It's a serious chemistry with practical advantages in raw material cost and safety. The headline numbers matter. Current widely reported sodium ion cells sit around 160 watt-hour per kilogram, while new announcement by CATL push 175 watt-hour per kilogram and future goals target above 190 to 200 watt-hour per kilogram. Compared to a representative LFP cell at 185 watt-hour per kilogram, that difference translates into 15% heavier pack if sodium stays at 160 watt-hour per kilogram, or much smaller penalty of 5 to 6% if sodium reaches 175 watt-hour per kilogram. Real-world range depends on the vehicle efficiency, but using 190 watt-hour per kilogram as a conservative consumption number, a 60 kilowatt hour pack delivers roughly 315 to 316 kilometer. The kilowatt hour determines range, while chemistry determines how heavy the pack is and how the car must be engineered. Sodium is promising. It's getting close to LFP energy density in the lab and vendor announcements. And it will likely first appear in low cost, short range, or commercial EVs, where cost plus safety beat top range. For big long range cars today, sodium ion still forces trade offs unless the new claims are proven at mass scale. If you want to go deep inside the battery management system, you can go and click on the links in the description to learn about the battery management system, cells, modules, pack, and things like this. Thank you.